So as promised, this is the Monogatari second season spoilers. So if you wanted to see the official review, annotation, link in the description. Yeah, so we're going to talk about Monogatari second season spoilers. So if you don't want to hear about Monogatari second season spoilers, GTFO. Alright, so I'm going to start by simply going over the arcs and going my opinions on them. Hanekawa's okay. Next one, Mayoi's okay, but only really served their purpose because of the ending of it, to be perfectly honest, which is the whole how important Mayoi is to Aragi's history and how much missing Aragi's history changes the world. Which, that was the thing I thought was funny about Mayoi and Shinobu's arcs, is that it was about the opposite character, meaning the trigger was usually the character, but the arc was really about the other character. For example, the trigger, well, not really the trigger in Shinobu's arc, more so Shinobu was kind of the explanation of it, if anything, but Mayoi was the actual true focus of that arc. And as far as Mayoi's arc is concerned, it has really little to do with Mayoi. As I said, Mayoi is more of the catalyst, and the arc is more about Shinobu at the end. But both of those arcs kind of suffer the point of we get exposition for like an episode or two, and then like we don't really get any real conclusion until like the last episode of the arc, which is like okay. And Shinobu's arc ending, which is actually Mayoi's arc, the whole fact that the world would be ruined if Mayoi didn't die and didn't give Aragi the advice which allowed him to go back to Shinobu and ask for her help, which would stop her from losing her mind and killing everything, which was actually pretty depressing in retrospect to realize how much Aragi means to Shinobu, especially on that level. On that level, it was ridiculous. The end of Mayoi's arc, which is the other thing about Monogatari second season that messes with me, is that some of these characters we're not even going to see again unless they just do the whole out of whack time thing, which they're going to, because Kizu Monogatari has to deal with Kambaru, which I'm assuming is dealing with that section of time during Hanekawa's arc, which is before all this stuff happens with Sengoku and Mayoi. Well, actually, I don't know when Mayoi's stuff takes place. I would assume afterwards. Actually, yeah, it takes place like directly afterwards. Well, Shinobu, well, yeah, Mayoi's arc. But yeah, we're not going to see Mayoi again, which is kind of depressing, at least in terms of anything past that point in the series. We're probably not going to see Sengoku again, and if we are going to see Sengoku again, we'll never see Sengoku again in relation to Aragi. Like, I don't believe her and Aragi will ever interact, ever, again, and that, at least in terms of the canon, which is kind of depressing. Then again, they don't really like... Sengoku was never at the top of the list of anyone's, I don't think anybody's favorite. I think she became a part of that list during this season. For me personally, for some of the wrong reasons, honestly. Some of them were okay, some of them were just messed up. Which I guess we should speak about Sengoku, because it's going to be Sengoku and Senjohara's arcs that take up the bulk of the spoiler discussion. Sengoku's arc in its entirety is probably one of the most what the things about the series, because you sat there and you were like, how does it get to this point? And then you see the progression and you realize that the arc is more so about how Sengoku, about questioning whether Sengoku really loves Aragi, which was the interesting section, especially when you had all these inputs from Shinobu and Tsuchiki, and then for it to boil down to a talisman, which is related to the Kambaru arc. Which then brings up the question, does that mean Kambaru either stays a part of the quote-unquote harem, or is she just... Something has to happen with her that has to be different than the other girls. Because if it was the same, they would have just did the arc in order, and they would have just shown Kambaru stuff, but they didn't. They decided to split it up. Now, granted, you can argue production costs and whatnot, but something tells me Kambaru's arc is different in some way, especially because we're dealing with her aunt, too, which we've been dealing with for at least for all of this season. I don't remember. I think she might be in Nisu Monogatari. I don't remember specifically. But all that was ridiculous. And then we get to Senjohara's arc, which is more so about Kaiki than it is about Senjohara. This, swear to God, this season loved to make the arcs, call the arcs about a certain character, even though it was really about another character. It's like, oh, it's the Shinobu arc. No, it's not. It's the freaking Mayoi arc. Oh, it's the Mayoi arc. No, it's the Shinobu arc. Oh, look, it's the Shinjohara arc. No, it's the Kaiki arc. But if we were to say that in the title, it ruins the fun, doesn't it? The Kaiki thing kind of depressed me because it was like, it wasn't like Kaiki was one of those characters you liked in terms of being a good guy. You liked him because he was kind of a weird villain, like a villain who didn't really give a crap about anything. And then they kind of, I don't want to say they redeem him, but they make him more likable / relatable, and then they have him die of ironic humor. Which I'm going to, and for those who are curious about my opinions on whether he's dead or not, I assume that he's dead. That is my assumption. That Kaiki is dead, which is be the ultimate irony. It's like you've somewhat fleshed out a character and then you kill him by something that was made apparent from the first season. And it connected. It's not like in terms of plot it didn't connect. It was just kind of depressing. Because that's how they ended the season. They ended the season with Aragi, you will never speak to Shinjohara. I mean, not Shinjohara. You will never speak to Sengoku again because it's your fault Sengoku even had this problem to begin with. You were the cause of this. Therefore, you leave her alone. And then right afterwards, he gets killed by a boy who's being controlled by the snake, who was his fault to begin with because Kaiki's the one who gave the kids the talismans who cursed Sengoku in the first place. So there was a lot of dark irony there, which made that ending depressing. On top of the fact that the big climax of the end of the season was him going against Sengoku, and it was really ridiculous, especially that whole "you like to draw manga" thing, and I was like, well, I don't know what that is. That's just kind of ridiculous in my opinion. But then again, the Monogatari series doesn't usually make that much sense. I'm kind of curious about how Hanekawa's personality is different now, because we don't really get to see too much of her new personality. Because I'm assuming her personality has changed because she's accepted all of her faults now, like, you know, her anger and her lust and pretty much all of the different emotions she tried to cast out. Because she wanted to remain pure and indifferent and non-judgmental and whatnot. Or maybe just because she was being a teenage girl and didn't want to deal with her emotions. That's probably more what it is than anything. I want to see if her personality is really different, which we probably won't see the beginning of Kuzu Monogatari, because that's going to be all Suguru stuff, which takes place during her arc. Mayoi's was depressing because when I found out, I was like, oh, she's got to go away. And I was like, oh, I like Mayoi. Mayoi, I think I even said it in the Nisa Monogatari review. Mayoi became one of my favorite characters. So I was like, oh yeah, she's gone. I was like, oh, come on. So as of right now, in terms of the main cast, and I'll include Kaiki for the hell of it, Kaiki is gone. We've lost Sengoku, at least in terms of Sengoku-Aragi interaction. We've lost like the lolly characters except for Shinobu. Then again, they did kind of replace Mayoi with Onoki. At least that's what I felt like they were doing, because Onoki was just kind of like... Onoki was way too prominent in the season, considering her master wasn't even around at all. Something tells me she'll probably be prevalent in Kizu Monogatari, because that's how irony works. So in terms of the girls we have left, as of right now, we only have Shinobu. I'm not counting the sisters, because the sisters should... Not really. I don't count that, considering they even admit that they have boyfriends. They both have boyfriends. So it's really just Shinjohara, Hanekawa, Tsuruga, Shinobu. Yeah, that's it. And if you want to count Inoki, you can, but I don't really count Inoki. But we lost two of the girls. And I don't think Hanekawa's going to be making... that's the thing. I also don't know how Hanekawa's dealing with this. Like, yeah, you've accepted your personality, but does that mean you're still willing to fight Shinjohara for Aragi, or have you just moved on from that, or have you just are you just trying to work on moving away from that? Then again, I think she'll probably be somewhat prevalent in that arc too, because Guyan seems to know Hanekawa, considering she shows up in the middle of Hanekawa's arc, meaning at some point in time they just leave Kombaru and also this whole snake talisman thing. I like how everything in this, almost every part of the season, correlated with something that went on in that Guyan arc, because the seal that Sengoku used to become a god is the seal Aragi got from Guyan, which I'm assuming is after the Kabaru incident. Then again, it does bring up the question why we don't really see or hear from Kabaru after this incident, which may mean that Kabaru becomes irrelevant in terms of the harem, or just in terms of the interaction with the characters, or just with Aragi. Because I would, considering Aragi is still prevalent in the later episodes, it's like, why isn't Kabaru prevalent? And I'm like, oh, something probably happened. Or Guyan's gonna start some shit, I'm not sure. Also, considering they introduced like 2 other characters at the beginning of the season, I don't remember their names, but they introduced these characters in Hayakawa's arc that don't really have a purpose, so they might be more of a thing in that arc, I don't know. But it was a whole bunch of shit, man. Just a whole bunch of shit. Monogatari has drained me. If Kiss Monogatari can give me the humor I love between Kabaru and Aragi, at least for the first few parts, I can get through it. Ishin, you make some draining shit, man. Even Medaka Box is draining. I'm not, no BS. I like Medaka Box, no bull, but Medaka Box is draining, man. Medaka Box is so draining sometimes. Especially that beginning half. Also the not equal. Oh my god, the not equal arc is painful. After that whole Zinka. Anyways, I think I'm done. I'm burnt out. Just talking about this is draining. But please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed. Lost the game for your boy Terrell, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace. I might actually make this a thing now. Like, it kind of looks like demon heads or deer head. I don't know.